Okay, in this little short video, I'm going to actually introduce the idea of a consumer price index. Consumer price index. Okay, you've seen it in your book. Now, just to put it in context, consumer price index is a macroeconomic measurement of prices. It's a single number, okay? For a given year, it's a single number. But remember, there's so many prices in an economy. We're trying to characterize prices with a single number, okay? Now, with that single number, how are we going to do that? Well, we do that with an index. So what is an index? Well, another way of thinking of an index is a basket. And this actually is the same. We can think about an index in this as a basket, whether it's a stock price index or all kinds of indexes. They're actually just sort of like baskets. What do I mean by a basket? Well, to think about a basket, let's think consumer price index, and let's think of, say, a shopping basket, shopping cart. Well, what's in your shopping cart? What you have, eggs and milk, and so there's different items in the basket, and there's also different quantities, right? Like a dozen eggs, maybe a gallon or 2 gallons of milk. So all baskets have both prices and quantities defined in those baskets. And so what we're going to do is, as a strategy, is we're going to actually go and measure the price of the basket in the year, say like 2021, and then ask basically, how much does that basket cost? And again, we're talking about consumer price index. So what kinds of things do you think should be in the basket? Well, they're the kinds of things that consumers buy. So they're going to include all kinds of things that you can't necessarily fit in a grocery cart, but, things like rents and cars and, there's transportation and food and clothing and all different types of elements, healthcare. And so there's a basket of goods that the statistical office defines. And what the statistical office does is, in a given statistical year, goes out and asks, hey, what's the price of that basket? How much does that basket cost? And then they can actually repeat that process in subsequent years. And so just to give you sort of a more concrete example, your book doesn't really have this, so I'll give this to you, is let's say that an economy, let's say that we're producing some different items, and consumers, they buy, say, shirts, let's say they buy rent, let's say they buy apples, okay? Apples, that's what they're going to buy. And let's say in the year 21, since we started there, they bought, what's the market value of shirts in the basket? Well, it's got both price and quantity associated with it. Let's just say the price of shirts is equal to, we'll just say $5. And let's say everybody needs 2 shirts, okay? Rents, let's say the price is equal to, say, $100, and everybody needs 1, okay? Apples, let's say the price is $1, and everybody eats 10 apples, okay? So the basket itself is going to be defined in terms of these quantities, okay? The basket is 2 shirts, 1 rent, 10 apples, okay? The value of the basket, the price of the basket, is going to now be determined. Now you go out and you find, okay, here's the prices. So what is the price of shirts in the basket? Well, that's $10, right? The price of rent is going to be $100. The price of apple, $1 at 10 apples, that's going to be $10, okay? So the price of this basket then is going to be equal to 120, okay? Now, we've already defined our basket, so I'm just going to write prices on the next line. Let's say in 2022, the price of shirts goes up to $10. Let's say that the price of rent is going to be equal to $150. Let's say the price of apples, let's just say it stays the same, okay? How much does this basket cost in 2022? So there's 2021, 2022. Well, look at the value. How much did the shirts cost in the basket? Well, remember the basket's defined in terms of quantities. So I've got 2 shirts times $10. That is going to be $20, okay? Look, in rent, they buy, again, the basket's defined one quantity of rent. The price is now $150, so that's going to be $150. And the price of apples, again, stayed the same. So we had 10 apples in our basket, and so that goes to $10. So to find out the price, what is this? This is very simple. This is $150, $160, $180, okay? Now let's say in 2023, just to give a complete picture, let's say the price of shirts is now say $15. The price of rent is, let's say, $200, and the price of apples, let's say, is $20. Okay. So again, what's the price of our basket? Well, cost of our basket is, again, we look at what's in our basket. Well, our basket has 2 shirts, $15. That's going to be for $30 worth of shirts in our basket. We have 1 quantity of rent at $200, right? And we have 10 apples. Now, wow, did I say $20 an apple? Did I really write $20 an apple? Oh my gosh, they just went up crazy through the roof. I meant to write 2, but I'll just stick to 20. It doesn't really matter. That's going to be $200 now. Everyone's buying on apples. Okay, that's crazy. Okay, what's the price of the basket now? Well, 200, 400, 430. Okay. So this is the price of the basket in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Okay. Now, what do we do to make an index out of this? Well, to make an index out of this, we need to make prices relative to a particular year. And it actually doesn't matter what year we make prices relative to. Because remember, prices are changing over time. So we need to make all prices relative to a specific time. And all we do with that is, I'll show you. We can define whatever year we want to make things relative to, and that year will be called the base year. You're free to pick, okay? You're free to pick your base year to make prices relative to that year. So yeah, you can do this a lot of different ways. I'm just going to go ahead and just randomly pick 2021 to be the base year. Let's say it's 2021. Okay, good. 2021 is the base year. So all we do is we just take the basket. To find out the CPI for a time period, we take the basket at that time period and just going to divide it by the basket price during the base period. Okay, it's just simple like that. So very simply, let's look at 2021. Well, we said that 2021 is our base period. So what's the price of the basket in 2021? Let's go, let's do a CPI. I'll just do this. I'll do CPI, and we'll do 2021, 2022, 2023. Okay. CPI 2021, 22, 23. Okay, so in 2021, it's the price of the basket in that year, which is 120, divided by the price of the basket in the base year. Well, we said the base year was 120, so that's 120 over 120. That's going to be equal to 1. The price is so we can always also tell what the base year is by looking at the price index and looking at what year it's equal to 1. That's another way to find out. Okay, let's go ahead and look at 2022. It'll be the price of the basket in 2022. That's 180 divided by the price of the basket in the base year, which is 120. 120. And so what do we end up with? We end up with, that's 3 halves. So we take 6. 6 is the common, actually, if we go by 6, divide by 6, forget the zeros, divide by 6, you'll end up with 3 over 2. That's equal to 1.5. Okay, and then 2023, you see what's going on here. The price of the basket in 2023 is $430 divided by the price of the basket in the base year over 120. And I'm not really feeling like doing that math in my head right now. There's going to be some weird odd denominators of things. 12 doesn't really go into 43 evenly very well, but you get the point. It's going to be a number. Plug it in your calculator, and there it is. And then if you wanted to actually find out, so you're going to have the CPI, or this price index. And if you want to, again, if you want to calculate inflation, then you just calculate the percentage change between these two. You can clearly see that the percentage change here is going to be 50%. Again, that's going to be, our formula is after 1.5 minus before over before, times it by 100 if you want, and you end up with 50%, okay? That's the percentage change formula. This is going to be inflation. So again, one way to calculate inflation is just to calculate the percentage change of a price index. Now, I will say this is consumer price index. There's also, okay, you have GDP deflator. That's another type of price index. There's a producer price index. The GDP deflator is going to be a price index that's going to have a basket that's going to be very different than the CPI, very different basket than what goes in the producer price index. Does that make sense? Because consumers don't really consume the same types of things that businesses do when they produce things. So it would make no sense to use a CPI as your price deflator if you're trying to adjust for something like GDP. So I'll show you the next video here in just a second. And that's it. There it is.